Good evening, and welcome to another segment of Marriage Takes Work. On last week, our discussion was on the subject of resolving conflict. And one of the things that we discussed in that segment was the importance of listening, of being able to tune in to what our partners are saying to us, such that it's easy for us to understand and to be clear as to what those conflicts are.
This evening, we're going to be looking at another important segment, forgiveness. When we forgive, this is something that we have to learn to develop. This is an attribute of God that we want to be a part of ourselves. Therefore, we have to pray and we have to go through various tests to develop that within ourselves. Now, what's the importance of forgiveness? Forgiveness allows us to be able to move forward in our marriage. But one of the things that we have to remember is that when we forgive, whatever we are forgiving, we have to learn to let it go. That means that if another situation comes up, we don't go back and bring that previous issue back up because we said we forgave our spouse for that.
And it goes back to forgiveness being probably one of the trying tests that we face in a marriage. Um, if there is no forgiveness, then we see um, uh, our marriages ending in divorce, or we're just cohabitating with a lot of resentment. But the word says, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And I'm not saying that it is an easy process, but it's a process in life for us as Christians that we must get through. And I must say, if there is no forgiveness, it taints the blessings that are in store for your marriage and your relationship with your wife.
I agree with you, Danny. Unforgiveness can cause you to harbor things in your heart. And when you harbor things in your heart, they fester into other things. It can cause you to develop spirits of hatred, envy, resentment. You become a person that is very unlikable to other people. It also, a lot of times, will cause you to develop a label as a messy person because normally people who have the inability to forgive, they are miserable, and misery loves company. So, learning to forgive, as I said earlier, is something that we have to pray for in our daily lives.
And the other thing, when it comes to forgiveness, I think it's important on each party for on each party's viewpoint is that when it's asked, or you be able to stand up to or fess up to that which you are asked to be forgiven of. You know what I'm saying? Ask for that forgiveness. And then the reverse side of that, when you're being asked for forgiveness, the person who is forgiving, I think it's something that has to be verbalized. They have to say it openly because there's a sense of distrust or hurt, and we got to make sure that we're making it plain to our mate that we are really uniquely and sincerely asking uh, for forgiveness with a repentant heart. Because if we just say, "I'm okay, it's okay, I'll be all right," that could lead to some other things that I really haven't forgiven you. But there's some things that's still lingering in the back of my mind. And if something by chance comes up later on in our marriage, it rehashes that which I ask you to forgive me for.
Right. And I tell you what, another thing that we have to look at too is sometimes when we ask for forgiveness, we have to keep in mind that because of how deep the hurt may be, that even though I am forgiving you, I may not be able to get over it because, see, not only did you break my trust, now I'm trying to forgive you for something that you did to me, but I'm also trying to rebuild trust that was broken. And a lot of times people feel that if they say, I'm sorry for what I did, and then the other person say, I forgive you, they feel that it should be nipped in the bud right there. It's over and done with. But it doesn't work like that when trust is a factor in there too. That is something that you can't just tell me one time, I'm so sorry for what I did, and it'll never happen again, and we just continue to move forward. That is something that you have got to show me past today.
Yeah, and forgiveness isn't warm and fuzzy.
It's not.
It hurts, and so we got to be real careful that we are always reminded of that commitment to each other, that we're not going to hurt each other, and the person who I hurt, I'm asking forgiveness from someone who I said I love.
Right.
And so it's important for me to make sure that I'm going to do everything in my capabilities to make sure that doesn't hurt, and that lightning doesn't strike twice. That we don't have to come back and revisit that, because after saying I'm sorry and we're going through that process together, trying to understand what we're going through, it's going to be important that we really look at the healing process.
Right.
Like you said earlier, it doesn't just go away.
No.
And it's a process that we have to go through every day. And we got to be sure again now that we are not always throwing it back.
Right.
Because when we throw it back at our partner, we haven't really forgiven.
You haven't let it go.
It's still going on. And again, that there's something to that we have to always be mindful of what we fight against.
That's right.
And so we're not fighting against flesh. We're fighting against something that's higher than that. So it's important to us to always insulate what we go through, even in forgiveness, with prayer. And make sure that we are truly forgiven. Again, too, if we haven't truly forgiven, we're hindering our prayers from being answered. God's not going to hear when we don't have that forgiving spirit. If He can forgive us unconditionally, after all of the flaws that we have, then we ought to be able to deal with each other in the same manner.
Right, right.
In the same manner.
Well, without forgiveness, like you said, it's very hard for your marriage to move forward. And I can't stress enough the importance of developing a spirit of forgiveness, because those things that you harbor can make a very miserable marriage if they just begin to fester. And it's like we will not be able to agree around any corner because of something of the past. There are people that are in marriages right now today where one party has been harboring things for years and their marriage has been stuck, not being able to move forward. Their train is on the track, but it's going nowhere. And they're being hindered because of unforgiveness.
Got to be mindful of that healing process, and always keep in mind your commitment to each other, and how you love each other, and what's important that we when we get to situations like that, when we figure that we are struggling, it's not uncommon for us to seek spiritual couple therapy, such that we can work our way through this. We didn't say for better, for worse. We're going to do whatever is necessary to make this thing work. And
Right.
so there is nothing wrong. And many of us, especially African Americans, we have a problem when we say therapy. But I'm of the mindset of whatever it takes to get it back on track where it needs to be, by any means necessary, I'm going to do that because of my commitment and my love for the person who I'm committed to.
Okay. All right. Well, we hope that you've enjoyed us this evening, and we hope that we have given you a nugget, food for thought, however you want to look at it, something to keep you encouraged and keep you going within your marriage. We also want to invite you, if you'd like to order our book, A Well-Rounded Love Affair, by all means, go to our website, awellroundedloveaffair.com, and you can order a book there. You can order it from Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Also, if you have an Android device, you can download our Daily Marital Nuggets app, and here you will receive a daily word of encouragement supported by scripture to help you.
Free.
And it's free of charge. So go forward in your marriage. Continue to pray and ask God to give you a forgiving spirit. Have a great and blessed evening.